Here I sit, amongst the long grasses and the reed, in a solitary place where my breath is freed. On an Indian summer's evening on the lake bed, autumn has come, yet the warmth has not fled. Blazing orange skies are mirrored to reflect. I cannot imagine a scene being any more perfect. As I looked up, an unfallen leaf caught my gaze, spotlighted in the sun's last golden rays. I noticed this crimson leaf as it began to wave, the end of a short life that I could not save, then swept away suddenly by the wind's rake, and ripples formed as it landed on the still lake. The leaf was carried away and my eyes followed, then drowned by the water's surface and swallowed. Windy fingertips tugged it from the branch to sever, existing once, like today, and then was gone forever. Hey guys, bit of a different start to a Friday message, I know, but having found this poem recently, I found that it perfectly illustrated exactly what it is that I wanted to talk to you guys about today. It manages to highlight some really interesting aspects of life that I think we need to look further into together. You know, I find the movements of the seasons around us fascinating, how it changes from the warmth and the life to the cold and the stillness year in and year out. And yet, if we think about it, these cycles never really change. And this is a fact that is perfectly illustrated within Genesis 8 verse 22. As long as the earth endures, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night will not cease. These patterns will not and cannot change. They are a constant in our life. And for many of us, if not all of us, this can be a comforting fact. It gives our life routine. Interestingly, it can feel very similar with what our current situation is around us. By this point, many of us are getting used to the sort of daily in and outs of how our lives are working currently. We're becoming slowly more and more accustomed to the restrictions that we have placed around us and what this new way of life means for us. And before this, going to school or college or even sixth form might have already started to feel kind of like the same thing happening over and over again for some of you. It very easily could have started to feel like a learnt path that you were walking by routine. We know what to expect of our days, so we kind of just let ourselves go into autopilot. Even personally, I can admit that I've started to feel this way in my own life and even at my own workplace. But what this can also mean is that when it comes to trying something new, it can be really challenging for us to maintain that thing without falling back on our preconceived routines. This is one of the main reasons why so many of us can't actually keep up with New Year's resolutions that we make. We sort of just get stuck in a loop. Sure, we're alive and we're breathing and we're still going about our day-to-day doings, but that's just it. We're simply existing. Now, I know this is a little bit heavy, I get that. But I personally truly believe that it's important for you and I to have this conversation openly with one another, because let's face it, we have to be real and honest with each other. And so I think it's important that we discuss topics like this. And here's the thing, our lives don't have to be and aren't actually meant to be that bleak. Not one bit. God gives us the option to choose not to sit idly by and just let things happen around us. In Matthew 7 verse 8, it says, "For everyone who asks, receives. Everyone who seeks, finds. And to everyone who knocks, the door will be opened." So, what does this have anything to do with that poem from the very beginning of this video? Well, you see, I believe that in life, too often we actually look at the wrong parts of life around us. our focus isn't where it should be. We look at the changing of the seasons. We observe the leaves fall and regrow all over again, year in and year out. And we just accept that this is what life is. But too often, we actually forget to look at the tree itself. You see, that tree took time to grow, to mature, to bear fruit and to grow flowers. That tree is what we are. That is our walk of faith with Jesus. And we, you and I, we are part of a biblical cycle that God had promised to us. In Ecclesiastes 3, verse 1 to 8, we read, "For everything there is a season, and a time for every matter under heaven. A time to be born, and a time to die. A time to plant, and a time to pluck up what is planted. A time to kill, and a time to heal. A time to break down, and a time to build up. A time to weep, and a time to laugh. A time to mourn, and a time to dance. A time to cast away stones, and a time to gather stones together. A time to embrace, and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to seek, and a time to lose. A time to keep, and a time to cast away. A time to tear, and a time to sow. A time to keep silence, and a time to speak. A time to love, and a time to hate. A time for war, and a time for peace." And through all of that, God still moves through us. He still wants to do work within us and around us. Whether we can see that or not, that's besides the point. Now, you might be feeling some kind of outside pressure to do something different, to achieve something great, or to somehow learn a new skill, to be productive in the eyes of the world. But that isn't what is important. It never is. Sure, be ambitious. Pursue your dreams. Strive to achieve greater things than before. But above all, we only really need to focus on one simple thing. We just have to do more of what we did before, or more of what He asks us to do. And that's just to spend more time with Him, in whatever way we can. The best way that you and I can remain active, not during just this time, but in every day of our lives, is to read His Word, talk to Him, pray with Him, worship Him, spend time with Him, and just take the time to be in His presence. Proverbs 8 verse 34 tells us that blessed is the man who listens to me, watching daily at my gates, waiting at my doorposts. So guys, if there is one thing that I can encourage you to do more of during this time, it's just spend more time with God. It's as simple as that. You'll be amazed at how much just that one act alone can change your world around you. Even when the world seems to have come to a standstill, chaos may try to reign over you, but God's promises will bring you stability and peace. That's it, guys. Thanks for listening. Be blessed.